Let's get into the afternoon games here, okay? So we have the Houston Texans and the LA Rams. The Houston Texans, I have the stat here. This is unbelievable. The offense averages 10.5 points per game with Savage as a starter, from 34.7 points per game when Deshaun Watson was a quarterback. What does that mean? Everybody on their offense is not going to see the end zone for the most part.
Agreed.
It is going to be awful for you fantasy points-wise. Everybody there has taken a decline. The only person I feel comfortable starting is DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes.
Will Fuller, who had been great so far this season, is not startable at this point. And DeAndre Hopkins, you just have to know at this point, is not going to get you the type of touches because that's just the facts there.
Yep.
10.5 points or 34 points. That's a big difference, and that means a lot of touchdowns that are not being scored.
Yeah, Hopkins is now a wide receiver, low end number 2 at best.
Yeah.
Lamar Miller's still a decent play, but that's it.
Yeah.
That is the Texans' offense now.
Lamar
cut.
Miller, I think solid, but
In a flex position, I have Lamar Miller starting, but it is something I did want to mention here is that he hasn't rushed for more than 75 yards in a game since week 14 of the last season.
And they're never going to be leading another game ever again.
No,
so.
it's one of those things where you know when you're going to be down in the game, you're going to try and pass the football, and I don't anticipate that the high-scoring LA Rams team is going to have too much of a tough time scoring points on this Houston Texans defense, who's pretty banged up. Now, if you want to go from one extreme to the other, the Houston Texans offense, where I don't feel comfortable nearly starting anybody, the LA Rams light everybody up. Put everybody in the green.
This is not the Houston Texans defense that you think it is.
Nope.
no.
Everybody's hurt.
Yes.
Part 17 in
Exactly.
the NFL.
Everybody is hurt, and this is just the Texans secondary is allowing almost 260 yards per game with 16 passing touchdowns of the season. 3 of the last 4 quarterbacks that have faced Houston have put up top 10 fantasy performances this week. So that's great things for Jared Goff. We've already talked about Goff and what he means to this team, what he has been doing this season. On top of that, he has a favorable matchup.
Yes.
So you really like this matchup for him. You really like Todd Gurley in this matchup, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. And I do want to say here mostly that you play the defense here. This is a good opportunity for you defensively. When you're looking for a defense that can score you points, they have 2+ sacks in their last couple of games, and they're playing against Tom Savage.
Yeah, the Rams defense, I think, will have a good game today.
And to the question we got earlier about Sammy Watkins, he is Mike Wallace. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He got two targets last week. Now, one of them was a 67-yard touchdown, so that's a possibility. But that's what he is now. If he gets that one huge play, he's worth it. Otherwise, he's not startable.
Guys, I want to get into this next matchup, but the most important thing here is we got to check on the Dez Bryant status because I know that he himself said that he was going to play. But that's always, I'm always hesitant on
player
listening to that.
self-diagnosing.
Yeah, that's always very interesting when you're talking about the own player that is saying that he's starting himself. But we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott is officially not starting in this football game. That is the biggest news of everything because we were trying to figure out whether or not he was actually going to serve the suspension. Now, whether or not that is a full 6 games, we will see what happens. But he is actually not going to play this football game, and that is the biggest news here.
Yep, which means if you were one of those people that held on to Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden, you're going to try to cash in on that success this week.
Yeah, Alfred Morris is the back you want today. Rod Smith's the back you want going forward. And Darren McFadden is alive. That's about it. That's all I have to say about those 3 running backs.
Okay.
That is, so if you had one or the other, which one do you feel more confident in?
Morris this week, Smith probably next week.
If I could only pick up one, it's Smith, because I think his potential upside could be starter caliber each week. If you need somebody desperately for this week, it's Alfred Morris, but I doubt you're going to be able to pick them up at this point of the week.
I want to talk about Dez Bryant real quickly because he did say himself that he was going to play. Look at these statistics. Dez Bryant's last 16 games with Dak, 81 receptions, over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns.
No, you know what?
This is the type.
Dez was getting old.
No, this is the type of caliber play that you expected from a wide receiver 1, a guy who's paid to be one of the top tier wide receivers in the league. And if he's playing, you're obviously putting Dez Bryant in your lineup.
Yeah, but we were told that Dez Bryant was getting old and couldn't play
And that Dak
anymore.
Prescott hates him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe.
So those numbers that's fake news.
Those are fake news.
Hashtag fake news.
Those
those
had to
be made up because he's getting old and Dak doesn't throw him the ball. I mean, that's what the internet tells me. I have to believe it, right?
Yeah, the internet would be wrong, which unfortunately, if I'm breaking news here to you, I'm sorry, but the internet's wrong quite often, especially with fantasy football guys.
Throw up the X.
Throw up the X. Des Bryant is definitely in your starting
That's on
lineup.
the bingo card. You throwing up the X on the show?
Let's talk about the other guys here, though. Terrence Williams, a guy who had a good week last week. Some of the other places, obviously, you have Jason Witten. Jason Witten is a guy who, when Ezekiel Elliott is not in the lineup, it favors him because he goes to the tight end much more.
Yeah, I think that short intermediate passing game without a running game is going to be used a little bit more. I think that's where Jason Witten can kind of thrive. So I like him a lot this week. The number 2 wide receiver in Dallas, I flip a coin on a weekly basis as to who it's going to end up being. Terrence Williams has seemingly gotten that role, but Cole Beasley's kind of there as well. I'm not sure.
I think Terrence Williams is the receiver you want this week, though. And if Dez for some reason doesn't play, if he's a late scratch, Terrence Williams is a wide receiver too with a lot of upside this week.
All right, I want to go to the screen real fast just because I want to show you where Jason Witten is in total points here. So Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz, both these top 2 guys here, not playing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Jason Witten, the 9th overall tight end, with 2 of these top guys sitting out this week. A favorable matchup for Jason Witten. He is available in 25% of leagues I looked at.
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. Jason Witten is a startable tight end every single week, but especially this week when 2 of the top tier guys are sitting out. And you obviously are not going out to get a guy like Rob Gronkowski, but look at Jack Doyle. Number 4 overall tight end. I just want to give a little love to Jack Doyle because I know we talked about him a little earlier, but you got to be able to look at that. You got to be able to look at that and know that, that's a guy that you got to start every week. And I know you're happy about Jason Witten being the guy this week. Now, Atlanta side of the football. Obviously, Matt Ryan.
Play Matt Ryan.
Play Matt Ryan.
Hot take. Can we get like a siren going off?
Play Matt Ryan, but Matt Ryan is not Matt Ryan of last year. Yeah. He's not the MVP caliber guy that we saw last year. He's not putting up the offensive numbers he put up last year. It's just not even close. The bigger thing here, and as I know this hits close to home for you because you're a Devontae Freeman owner, or were a Devontae Freeman owner. Devontae Freeman is not involved in this offense with the new offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian. He is
cashed in my chips.
Yeah, you cashed in your chips and you did a good job. It was the right time because this guy has just not been involved in the offense. And Tevin Coleman also just missing in this lineup. This offense has a new identity with Sarkisian. It's just very strange to figure out.
Yeah, Devonta Freeman is just not getting into the end zone. He's not getting enough touches. It's just bad. It's bad all around. This Falcons offense is just... They're stuck in first gear. They can't get out of first gear, and it's a problem. And at some point, they're going to have that game because they think they're too talented not to. Maybe it's this week, maybe it's not. But I think you got to temper expectations with all these guys, and I decided to jump off the Devonta Freeman bandwagon.
Tell everybody who you got for
I got Joe Mixon and Tate Jr.
Yeah. Good trade for you.
In a PPR league. So I like both of those guys. To pair Mixon with Leonard Fournette, I'm going all in on the rookie running back train this year.
I want to get to this point on Freeman because I think the statistic is ridiculous. Freeman is on pace to finish with his lowest targets total since his rookie season, and his scoring opportunities have just dried up. I cannot believe that he is on pace to set a record for his worst totals thus far. It is just bizarre to watch this offense. It is not the same that it was. Obviously, I already mentioned Tevin Coleman staying far away from both of those guys. Let's look at Austin Hooper here. He's been a guy who's
He's getting some volume finally.
Yeah, he's playing better the last 2 weeks.
He's being more involved in the offense. It's something to pay attention to, the fact that he's getting more targets. We already obviously mentioned Mohamed Sanu a little bit, but do you guys feel comfortable starting him this week?
Yeah. I like Juju more, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sanu.
Juju has more points than Mohamed Sanu this week.
Okay, let's make a little wager.
Yeah, we'll figure out what we're going to wager.
All right.
You see, you're not even going to be here next week to pay this off. How about this? You have to stay home if you lose.
Well,
okay, I
get to go to New York.
My flight's already booked, so
I'll take. Just switch the names.
Jamie's going to go back home.
All right, so Christmas vacation. I'll have Thanksgiving dinner with your family.
Great. This sounds like a great bet. Very even. Very even.
I'll pass.
I'll
do the dishes.
I accept on Chris's behalf, so this is great. This is perfect.
Great.
Next matchup we're getting into.
Do we have to?
We do.
Okay.
We do. Unfortunately, we do. We have to.
Do we like anybody?
This is like red zone. It's like every touchdown from every game, every fantasy matchup for every game, including
the New York Giants.
This one.
Yeah, the New York Football Giants playing the San Francisco 49ers. My question here is either team actually going to win the football game, or are we actually going to end in a tie?
Okay, I have a better question.
If there's ever a 6-6 tie of this season.
I have a better question. Does each team starting quarterback in this game finish the game?
Ooh. But this devolves into a
Davis Webb versus Jimmy Garoppolo matchup.
Does it make it a more attractive matchup? I'm not sure it does.
It doesn't, but I was just asking the question because I mean the Giants are bad.
I'm starting one person in this matchup.
Is it Sterling Shepard?
And that's it.
You're not going to play Evan Ingram?
No.
Let's go to the screen quickly because I want everybody to see my notes here. Orleans Darkwas leading the way in playing time and carries the last 3 weeks and gets to face a 49ers rushing defense that has allowed 495 yards on the ground back over the last 3 weeks alone. So what does that mean?
Don't play him.
Don't play him.
I don't really trust anybody.
You don't trust Tulane running backs.
Yeah, I don't trust anybody in this New York offense. I really don't. I don't think they have the capability to consistently put this up. I'm down on him. Maybe he's a flex play.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't like him. I'm not.
So how about Evan Ingram in this matchup?
Jamie's trying to talk me out of playing Evan Ingram this week.
I don't know where the fantasy points are going to come in this game for anybody involved.
Carlos Hyde?
Maybe.
No.
But I feel like so Hyde's a flex.
Score any points this week?
He's on the IR.
No,
I know.
He's not.
That was a joke, guys.
He might score as many points as Orleans Darkwas does this week.
Well, let's talk about San Francisco really quick, okay?
We have to.
The only options there, I think, Darkwa, just because of the matchup, I think in a deep running back in a standard league, you could potentially put him in a flex position. And if he scores a touchdown, you're feeling pretty good. Just because of how horrible the San Francisco 49ers have been and just their lack of being able to stop anything offensively, it is a good matchup for him.
I won't make George Kittle a thing this week, I promise.
Thank God.
And don't make Eric Selleck a thing either.
No, I'm not. This is the week I'll step back.
San Francisco, we got Carlos Hyde, who is third among all NFL running backs in receptions with 40. That means, I think, in a PPR league, you feel confident starting him maybe in a flex position or in a running back 3 position.
Sure.
You gotta look at the fact that these matchups are favorable for these offensive players because these teams are not very good. So I do think that there are a couple different options here. Pierre Garçon, obviously we mentioned, is on the IR, makes Marquise Goodwin have a little bit higher upside. George Kittle is going to be out in this game, so that makes Garrett Selleck maybe a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to make anything here happen. I never tell you to do anything I wouldn't do in my own fantasy league. I am starting Carlos Hyde in a running back 3 position, and I feel pretty good about that because I do think in my PPR league, I think he has some upside, being able to catch the ball in the backfield, and those are good stats to look at and see that he's been able to get those guys.